O'Brien Martin. Thank you so much for tuning in to Breaking Free and Owning Me, where I coach callers like you through issues that they want help navigating through, helping them accomplish a goal that they have felt stuck at accomplishing. And we dig down and identify some maybe mindsets or limiting beliefs that hold them back. And I help you live much more authentically to who God made you to be, so you can live a full, thriving, fulfilled, purposeful life here on earth. We only have one life, so let's make it count. Today's caller is Melissa, and she is somebody that is a very analytical thinker. She thinks a lot in her head and has admitted to remaining in her head. So, what about you? Do you find that you're in your head a lot, that it's hard to get out of it, that you live there, that's kind of your zone of safety, and it's hard for you to make a decision? Do you find that you could take 3 years about thinking about something and never make a decision or execute? Do you feel that, um, expressing your passions and truly embracing what really brings you enjoyment is going to make you look incompetent or make people look at you as a joke or not take you seriously? These are all things that we kind of dive into and uncover in my coaching call with Melissa. So without further delay, here's the call. Welcome to the show, Melissa. I am so happy to be supporting you today. What is your question?
Okay, so I was wondering how to gauge when to decide if you need to move away from what you're currently doing. So I'm not sure the difference between when I feel like I'm forcing or when I'm just in that space of still gaining confidence and trying to find my groove. So at what point can I know, okay, it's time to pivot or do something different because this is forcing, as opposed to I'm still in that growth stage or finding my confidence.
So I was talking with you a little bit before we officially recorded. Can you expound more on where you're finding this, like, questioning if you're kind of flowing from authenticity or trying to force things and make things happen? Where are you noticing if you're possibly out of alignment?
Well, so my business is a yoga instructor online, and so that's a very kind of, you're trying to help people and support people in finding some peace, some grounding. But my personality, the reason I teach yoga is because I need it. And my personality is very not that kind of hippie, kind of zen, kind of, And so I feel a little bit like, your question before about what do people respond better to? A more polished, kind of professional appearance and feel, or kind of more, chaos and whatever, real life. And I feel like if I'm a yoga instructor and I'm trying to help people feel that peace, I'm bringing that to them and helping them get there themselves. It doesn't feel totally authentic in a way, because I am kind of bringing that persona or that feel, because that's what I want to lead them into. But me, myself, if I were just going to be on there and just be me, it's almost like, should I have done kickboxing? No, but okay. But I really, my passion is I think I do want to help people be able to get that on their own. So I'm there just to kind of facilitate and teach them how to bring that peace into their life and how to center themselves. And but the authenticity feels lacking because I tend to joke around a lot and just kind of be goofy and be a little bit more loud and whatever. So when I'm recording a video, it kind of feels like I'm pulling back or holding back or not totally being me.
Okay. So when you say it doesn't feel authentic because you're joking, are you trying to be funny when you're not naturally funny? Like,
Oh no,
where's
sorry, what I mean is I typically tend to be more loud and joking and
okay.
kind of goofy, but then if I'm recording or I'm trying, trying to teach yoga, it's very, serious.
Again.
Yeah, I'm trying to help people get there and not be distracting and whatever. Um,
Okay.
so I don't know if it's one of those things where I should just let loose and do whatever I want to do and see if people respond to it. I think it's one of those things where when you take yoga classes, everybody kind of has that same persona that they're bringing Zen and they start to talk like this, and you know, um, and so I think it's partially just that's what you always see, and so that's what I'm imitating,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps when I take a yoga class. Sometimes that's distracting, but in a way, it does help. You don't want someone up there chitter chattering, around the whole time.
Okay.
So, but because it's online, you don't get that feedback from people. So it's kind of hard to, you can't gauge the room
Mm-hmm.
live.
Right.
So,
Okay. So I think the bigger distraction here is, if I can state an observation,
sure.
that you're in your head a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bingo.
Yeah, and I was kind of picking that up even just from the previous conversations we've had. Partly it's your wiring, you want to do it right, you want to do things correctly. Perhaps you want to come off as, competently, um, and but as you know, when we get into our head, that blocks the flow. It's very hard to be in flow when we're in our heads. I don't know. Okay, so have you felt a flow before?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Um, Definitely when I'm giving massages. So I'm a massage therapist too. And I mean, there are times that I'm so in flow, like my client could like cough or something and it like shocks me, kind of like, I'm just so there.
Okay. And how much of your head is in that?
Probably very little. Yeah.
Okay. So you know how to do it and you know the difference.
Yeah. For
Have
sure.
you been able to be in flow when you do your own personal yoga?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been able to be in flow when leading a class?
I don't think so. Not,
Okay.
not totally.
Mm-hmm. What's happening there?
I guess that, hmm, no, you tell me. No, I guess I'm in my head because I'm, like you said, I'm wanting to make sure I'm doing it right. And sometimes I'm thinking of the details, like, is my mic on? Did I start the timer? It's a lot of behind the scenes kind of stuff going on too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Where do
mean,
you think that comes from?
I guess a desire to give good, give a good experience,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe some perfectionism. Wanting to get it just right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Was that something that you learned growing up? Parenting, school, societally?
I don't know. My parents were very kind of hands off in a way, you know. So I did a lot of. I was always though a procrastinator, and it's probably just my personality of probably fear of failure. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think some people go one way where they just prepare and prepare and prepare and prepare, and I'm the other way where it's like, well, if I can just say, oh, I put this together in 5 minutes, then and it's still good enough. I don't know. It's a procrastination with perfectionism thing of I want to do it perfectly, but I put off actually just putting the work in. No, doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I don't know if that came from. I don't. I can't specifically say that my parents or anyone pushed me too hard or whatever to make me feel like I had to do things perfectly. I think it's just a personality thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, and sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is, and then sometimes it's coming from a, some sort of wound. Mine, I'm not naturally a perfectionist person, but when that's triggered, like this obsession to like have it perfect,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming from um like a need of validation, of approval, and I know where that comes from. So that's because it's not my natural wiring to be that way.
Hmm.
So um okay, so you naturally want to do things right.
Yeah.
um what is have you defined that? What does that look like?
Doing it right. As
Mm-hmm.
far as specifically my business.
Mm-hmm. Or yoga. We were specifically talking about videos, and you know, we can expound it beyond that, but
I guess the video specifically, it's about being professional, concise, easy to understand, um, and also correct. There's an element of wanting to make sure I'm not hurt. You know, people aren't hurting themselves, so it's making sure I'm explaining things well so that I don't feel like I'm either confusing or making people not be safe in their bodies. So I
okay.
think I feel a lot of pressure to make sure I'm explaining everything perfectly.
Okay. So, and that pressure is definitely not flow.
Okay.
When I hear pressure, the word pressure, it's okay, you're relying very much on this lovely tool between our two ears, which is a beautiful gift and also what can really get in our way and hold us back and mess us up a lot.
Huh.
Mainly, I'm sure you've heard the phrase the ego, which is more than just like, I have a big ego, like I'm full of myself and prideful. Like it's the ego is just the brain chemistry, the brain wiring, like the way our brains are wired. Our ego love pro- protects us. That's what always like, oh, you need to be really careful. You need to make sure you're really safe whenever like you're about to. This is why people stay stuck, because they're listening to their ego more than their heart.
Hmm.
And even this, even the spirit or what's
Mhm.
really deeply planted in them. And usually what's in your deepest desires, what's in your soul, the ego, the brain does freaks out.
Hmm.
This is why people don't like, if they're like, oh, well, I feel called to something more, or they're sensing a career pivot, or possibly leaving a job that they've had for 30 years and all of that. That's when like the brain then goes, well, does this make sense? You've been here for 30 years. You've built all of this experience. If you leave, you're going to have to start from the ground up, like all of that stuff. But then they're almost like tormented because they're not in alignment. They keep listening to this thing and not their heart, not their soul, not what the spirit has planted in them that does desire, so that it can be fulfilled. So it takes a surrender, and it's uncomfortable to let go of control. Um, what do you think kind of gets in the driver's seat when you find that you get in your head? What part of you is driving?
Um, I guess I certainly rely on my own logic, my ability to figure it out. I can almost say, and because I exist up here, like eyebrows up,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe because of being a massage therapist and a yoga instructor, which is kind of weird since that is my tendency. It's like you'd think I'd be an accountant or something, but I can
Mm-hmm.
almost feel it. I can almost feel physically that the only activity happening is from here up. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's like I
Because
know,
you're aware of the body connection. You're aware of the whole person approach.
yeah. And so, but I, I am so wired that way that I don't see anything wrong with it. Does that make sense? It's almost like I immediately am like, the second I feel that there's a challenge, a problem, anything, it's immediately like I'm here up. Like I'm thinking about, is the way I'm feeling true? Like I'm testing it, is the way I'm feeling true? Everything is being gauged by what's happening in my head, for sure. I
Mm-hmm.
um yeah.
Okay.
Was that your question? Did I answer your question?
I don't even remember what I asked.
I went off there a little.
I mean,
You said
you
what's in the
expounded
driver's.
beautifully. What did you say?
You asked me what's in the driver's seat, and so I guess it's logic. I guess is that. I mean,
Okay.
what you're thinking? Or are you thinking like a physical body part? It's
No, no,
definitely
no, 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 no. I just wanted to see if you could identify. Some people can quickly like, oh, that's controller, or, oh, that's perfectionism. Oh, that's comparison.
not.
Things
Oh,
like that.
probably control. Yeah. Um, that it's sort of self control, that I don't want to react in a way that's not in alignment with truth. I think so. It's like it's a self control. It's like a control. Like if something is like kind of jars me or something, it's immediately goes to my brain of like, okay, let's assess this situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I stay there. I stay there
Okay.
for sure.
So when something jars you, what can you give an example of that?
I guess just anything, something somebody might say that's controversial or I don't like, something that maybe feels like uncomfortable, and that might be uncomfortable in my body
Okay.
or heart,
Mm-hmm.
something that really doesn't feel good to me. I immediately go to my head to test like the the truth of how I'm reacting.
Gotcha. Okay.
Am I going too deep here?
No, I love this. Okay, so if I heard you correctly, and tell me if I'm off, it's fine. if, that something could happen where you physically may feel some sort of discomfort or kind of like a reaction of like something's off, or you feel it in your heart. And when you notice the body and the heart kind of feeling something's off, you go into your head and assess maybe where is this coming from, or is this true, or you kind of dig deeper, like what's behind this, what's really happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that. I that's like a self-awareness, and a processing, and that's how you identify like triggers,
Hmm.
or lies, or even if something seems off, maybe it's because something is off.
Right.
And there is a whole like I mean, like a testing process, that is wise to do. But you said you stay there. So
Yeah.
how do you stay there?
Um, I think I find comfort in thinking about ideas and just really just thinking through, analyzing,
Okay.
weighing pros and cons. You know, if it comes to decision making, it's very, um, like you said, I can become paralyzed with just thinking through it.
Mm.
Doesn't feel like fear to me. It doesn't feel like fear of failure, but it's probably it maybe ultimately is, or trying to control all the variables. If I think through it enough, then when I take action, I won't make mistakes, you know, kind of thing.
Okay. I'm going to write that down
Uh-oh.
because can you say that again? If I think through it enough.
Yeah, if I think I believe that if I think through it enough, then when I finally take action, I won't make mistakes.
Is that true?
No.
Okay. Okay. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
As you hear yourself say this, that's like the story. If I think through it enough, when I take action, I won't make mistakes. You hear that, and this is where the testing is a good thing. Is that true?
No.
No. Okay. And this is how you can get out of your head. Then you ask, what do I need to let go of?
My own wisdom, relying on my own wisdom and kind of connecting more with that inner voice and spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and being willing to follow it without assessing it for 3 years first.
Yeah. How much more would you get done?
um, Probably a lot.
Who would you be without the story?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Let's like envision that. Envision the release. Okay, you are a person that no longer buys into the story that if I think through it enough before I take action, then nothing can go wrong.
Right. I guess I feel like I envision myself being like a pinball. What are those pinball machines just bouncing all over the place? I think that I rely on my brain to kind of rein myself in a little bit, because I tend to be like, yes, that, and like, I'm like, I don't know. I have lots of ideas and lots of things, and I think I overthink it, and I don't know how to kind of narrow my focus, and I rely on just thinking through it. Um, so I feel like if I would just kind of act on what I might feel is like an excitement or a passion or an idea, that I would just constantly be like bouncing around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I feel like I would do.
Who does that? Do you think of somebody when you think of the bouncing around? Does that remind you of someone or give you an image of a
I
certain
was,
person?
I wasn't, but when you said that, someone did come to mind. Just someone I used to work with who, I mean, I love him. I think he's hilarious, but I used to always say he needs his own personal assistant just to live his life. Like not, not for businesses, not for anything. He just needs an assistant to keep him, you know, grounded. Um,
Mm.
and so I think that's, and I don't, I'm amused by that. I'm not like, I don't want to be like that, but I don't want to be like that. Yeah.
Did he annoy you or make you feel like he was incompetent or not professional, not somebody you could take seriously?
I don't think annoy is the word. I mean, yeah, I guess I sort of didn't take him seriously. Now he's actually a very successful business person. Um, I think he has several assistants, but, but yeah, I mean, he didn't really annoy me, but I would laugh at him, and, you know, not in a mean way, but just kind of, yeah, couldn't really take him seriously. Um, and just,
Found him to be amusing.
yeah, and maybe that is a thing too. I feel like I'm able to laugh at myself, but at the same time, when it comes to, if I have something that I really want to convey or that I feel strongly about, I don't want it to be a joke. I don't want,
Mm.
yeah, that might be getting digressing a little bit, but
Well, that's good. Like, so if you believe something you're passionate about and you're expressing from that place of passion and deep connection, you don't want to be seen as a joke.
right.
Okay. By who?
I don't know. Anybody?
Okay. So are you are you happy and enjoying what you're doing when you're focused on making sure people don't look at you as a joke rather than coming from a place of passion and enjoyment and love?
No. I feel probably anxious,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely not, not energetic. So very locked, I guess might be the word, but
Way down, way down from the
yeah,
care of other people and not in alignment with who you are, with your brilliance, who God created you to be. You're suppressing that. And I'm not like we all do this. I struggle with this. So um when we come from a place of fear, of protection, of control, that's when the flow gets snuffed out. It becomes work and not in like a play work. This is hard, almost dreadful work.
Mhm.
It's depleting, it's draining, it's obsessive. Like the self-doubt gets extremely loud and we just go into our head. This brings new revelation to that verse. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. All your heart, lean
Mhm.
not on this. In all your ways, acknowledge him. So there's that alignment, and he will make your path straight. That's the flow. That's that effortless joy that we have such a hard time giving ourselves permission to have. It is there for us. It's available for us. It is ours to take ownership of and be grateful for. Yet it's so stinking hard for us. It can't be that simple. Yes, actually, it can. How you feeling?
Good. I just had a thought from that. If I can share that I'm in a group coaching right now with somebody who's teaching about the Enneagram and kind of personality styles.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they do the numbers, I'm a 5, which is a head in your which is
Mm-hmm.
a head thing. And she explained yesterday that there's actually a triangle, and so the other numbers that I have access to, there's a heart one and there's a gut one, so kind of more that body thing. And she explained that you function from your head, but you also have access to the other two, and the goal is to come to that wholeness of, you know, having access to all three whenever you need them. And I liked how she explained it. So it's a circle and all the numbers around and God in the middle. And so he is all of it, and that's where we come from. And we all have different facets of him. She didn't say it exactly like that. I'm putting in my own thing, but kind of the idea that, so with the triangle, he's in the middle. So we're able to, through him, let all of it come out.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you said that about, what did you say? What did you say? Um, yeah, that it's hard to, in all your ways acknowledge him,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll make your path straight. That it is letting him show you all of the, I guess. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is hard.
It's hard to release control. So if control is in the driver or perfectioning, and you need to kick that driver out, put him in the back seat, and put God in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
what does controller need to feel safe, secure, okay?
Um, I think that when I have had moments like that where I'm journaling or something and I know for sure that what I'm hearing is from God.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm able to just, without questioning, I'm able to go, yeah, and just follow it. So I think for me, it's like this certainty that what I'm hearing or what I'm following is from God and not my own ideas. I'm constantly questioning my own thoughts,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and which is where I get stuck in that, cycle. But when I know for sure that it came from the Holy Spirit, then I'm I'm okay with it. I don't keep
Yeah.
going about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you know when you know that you know
Right.
It's God.
Yeah.
I struggle with this. I'm getting much better at it because I've done some exercises that I'm going to give you to do. It's like, okay, bottom line is I know when God speaks. Like, I just know.
Hmm.
And so I don't have to question, like, is this God? Is this lies? Is this me?
Right.
because because when he speaks, it's very clear. There are also times where he is speaking, but then our sneaky little egos get in there and start mixing God and us in there. And that's where it can get confusing because there's parts of you that were like, no, I know that was God, but this part I don't know about. And this is what inspired my retreat I was telling you about, the flow or force.
Hmm.
Because, whew, do I know that battle of am I in flow? Am I forcing this? Is this ego driving or is this God? Who's in the driver's seat? And so I don't know. Have you heard of God journaling?
Uh-uh.
Okay. God journaling was introduced to me by my coach. And it's like you're basically writing down your prayers or writing down your conversation with God. It could start, uh, with a question that you have, or, you know, I mean, why am I feeling unsettled? Or what should I do today? It can just be whatever that is. Um, and the self-awareness and being in tune with your body and heart, like all of that is really good because then you can just pull out this God journaling and you're asking God and then you're being quiet and you're listening. So you do like me and then, God, and you just like write this conversation down. It may not be that easy in the beginning because you're not used to this practice. If it's not like a peaceful flowing place and it's like a fight or struggle or a wrestling, that's usually when your mind has gotten in there and you can just take a pause, take a break, put it down, distract yourself, redirect yourself with something, and then kind of come back to it with fresh eyes. Usually, just even that, like that pause, the spirit keeps talking to you. He'll reveal, like, okay, here's where you got in there. Right now, you're actually in a lot of fear. And because from that place of fear, you're trying to force certain answers that your ego feels comfortable with. And, you don't want to hear, um, let this go. You want to hear what you want to hear. And so you kind of can get in there and try to direct that. So that's a great practice to God journal. If you feel a struggle or fight, pause, separate, go for a walk. It's like, think of like we are children of God. If you think of children, like you can pause the kids, separate them, give them something else to do for a minute. Um, and then when there's controller or somebody in the driver's seat, you can give them something else to play with. Like there's something else you can redirect. We are all children of God. When you realize this, you're like, oh, yeah, nope, I need that. I'm kicking and screaming. I'm having a fit because I feel unsafe. I feel uncomfortable. I need to feel secure right now and loved, and you'll learn that. So this is a great practice for you to get really to do that triangle that your coach was talking about.
Okay.
With that, you can also go back. What I find is helpful is after you do the God journaling, you can go back and reread maybe an hour or two later, maybe later that day, or maybe the next day. And you can go through and you'll probably be able to see where your ego has come in and you can like circle, nope, I know that was God, underline, I think that was ego. And like you can start um, coding, you can color code it, you can do something, and you can start to see maybe patterns or, and the parts that you know is God, go with. Okay, now I know that. I'm going to accept that. And then just let the ego parts go. So that's how I have worked through this to help me get more in the flow.
Very cool.
Does that sound like something that you would find helpful?
Definitely. I have, without knowing it was called God journaling or whatever, that's very similar to things I've done, usually only when I feel really upset about something. If it's really something upsetting, I go to that practice. And it's not always a specific answer or specific thing, but usually something. But I think hearing you say that, it'd be good to do it on a regular basis, even for daily connection with God's leading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So your original question was, I don't know the specific, I can't repeat it verbatim, but
I'll leave you to that. Go ahead.
something, yeah, something to the effect of feeling, what is,
Well, how do I?
how
Yeah,
do
how
you
do
know
I
you're
know?
in the flow, or how do you know like this discomfort is more of like a growth zone rather than being out of alignment?
Right.
And from that, I feel like it was more of like, it actually wasn't necessarily like an uncomfortable thing. It was like the head, you're leading from your head.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with your brain. Like it's a beautiful thing. We need it for survival and decision making. I mean, it's not a cursed thing, it's a gift. um, but it's if you're relying on it too much and having a hard time connecting the body, spirit, or soul, heart, many words for this, um, flow, that's where we can feel out of alignment. My thought is, I feel like if you practice more getting out of your head and more into letting the flow, and you've experienced that through massages, you've experienced through practicing yoga on your, like, privately, like when you can really start going in that flow space, you're going to feel a lot less pressure and a lot more enjoyment, and you're going to be so much more clear. Like you're going to be in the flow, and it doesn't mean your brain just shuts off. Really doesn't. Your brain still is so much a part of you. But you're not leading with it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. And you'll be able to, like, the creative ideas or solutions, like, kind of just come to you. They flow out of you, flow from you, and well, from God out of you. And that, I think, will really help you find more answers with what is authentic to you.
Yeah.
If you can just deep down tune in to what it is that you really want. What is that?
Wow. Should have prepared me for this one.
Usually the words deep down are the preparers. Oh, I'm going to have to shut the brain off. I'll just dig deep.
What do I really want? I mean, ultimately, you know, it's, I guess, feeling connected and like like I'm helping like we know theologically, we know that God put us here for a purpose and that we're all interconnected, and he gave us each something to contribute. And I guess deep down, that's all I want, is to contribute in the way that God intended for me to do. And I think that's it.
And what does that look like for you? How are you doing that?
Um, when I think about when I feel like I'm contributing the most is when it's just one on one with someone that is going through something deep, um, helping them um, stay grounded and help. I don't know. I feel like I'm good at one on one when someone's really wanting to go deep. Um, I can. I tend to be good at listening, holding space, um, asking good questions, that kind of stuff.
I believe that. I can definitely see that. So how much of that is brought into what you're currently doing?
Specifically, the yoga, not a lot.
Okay. So how can you bring more of that into what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be where the journaling comes in, is sitting with that question and waiting for the wisdom of God. My initial thought is just moving into reaching out to people one on one, the people that I already have who are um, watching me, subscribing to my site and stuff. Just kind of maybe reaching out to them individually, putting it out there. I guess.
Mm-hmm. It's a great start.
Yeah.
So, um, the yoga is still going to be part of what you do, correct?
I think so. I mean, I think that's where I'm at a place where I'm like, I was mentally picturing a thing of yoga, and it's when I record and put it out there, it's on my terms. But when I reach out to a one-on-one kind of thing, like what we're doing, it's you don't have any control over where this might go or what I might say or whatever. So maybe that's where I'm not living into, I'm letting fear in my head keep me back from that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have control. Like if I'm putting myself out there to help somebody, and what if they say something that I have no idea how to respond, or I don't feel equipped to help them with, or something. I haven't had those conscious thoughts, but maybe as I'm talking through it, that's part of it, as
So,
opposed, yeah.
so what if, I mean, I even told you in the beginning, like when you sent me what your question was going to be, I was like, you know what? That was a great question. It was something I'd never even thought of. Let's explore it together. Oh.
Yeah.
If I got really stuck on, here's a key, and I can give you a little tip on coaching. If we become locked into the question that is being asked and so focused on answering that specific question, we're missing the opportunity to look much, much deeper.
Yeah.
If I was like, I have to like answer her question, like, oh, I could like go into this obsessive mode, like just, I'm like, I don't know, but we're gonna explore it together. And I'm willing to journey with you. Coaching is like journeying with somebody. It's partnering with them. Um it's figuring it out together. The beauty of that coaching one-on-one is the objective set of eyes that can pick up a pattern or listen to something, like how I said, can you repeat that? Listening to this limiting belief that can get you stuck. Um, and you're walking with them objectively, being able to see those blind spots, hear those limiting beliefs. That's the beauty of it. So you don't have to have all the answers. And I say that, I was like, what? I don't know about that. If that's something that's really, really important for you to know, I encourage, I might be able to think of somebody else that I feel is more equipped to answer that question. And it's just like, it's okay. We don't have to have all this infinite knowledge of everything. That's not what we're meant to do. So I want to encourage you that deep down, I want to really just affirm deep down, you know what you want. I believe that you're wise to tune in to something like you think it was maybe a discomfort or being uncomfortable, but really I think it was something's off, something's a little bit out of alignment. And you deep down sense that, and we're tuning into that and willing to be open to explore it so that you can flow more and live in that passion and your brilliance and your beauty. And it's so magnetic when people do that. It's really hard to attract people. I mean, I suppose it can be, but man, I don't think you want to attract a bunch of people to a false version of you.
Right.
That's going to be so miserable to maintain. That's going to be exhausting. I cannot tell you how many people reach out to me that build businesses because they were not authentic to themselves and cannot stand going to work one more day. They just created another dreaded job for themselves because they were not flowing. And the beauty of working for yourself or being able to create this is that you get to truly flow from this beautiful, authentic space and place of who God made you to be.
Yeah.
So, I think those first steps that you thought of taking that came to mind right away, I think those are great steps to take. See what happens. You never know, right? You have nothing to lose and everything to gain from here, right? What you gain is being more authentic, giving yourself permission to go after what it is that you really want. Mm-hmm. If true one-on-one transformational sessions and conversations are what you really value, then don't go try and making a bunch of passive income online courses involved, at least not right now. That's not to say that that won't eventually be an appropriate time or place, but if you're lacking that one-on-one, go after that and see what you can do. I'm doing that with this podcast. I love the one-on-one. So I decided, okay, I'm going to turn this into a podcast because I just love doing this. And I'm just going to keep flowing and doing what I love and being so filled with joy and energy. It is not a time suck. It does not deplete me. It energizes me and it makes me want to do more and more and more of it. And that's because it's in the flow, but it took me a long time to get there. A lot of doing things that were not aligned with who I am.
Okay.
To really let this go, because I knew deep down I was like, no, I just want to do the one-on-one conversations. I'm a people person. I love those things, and but I was ignoring all of that because all of these people are build an online platform and have these courses and do a membership site and do all of this stuff, and I tried it and it was not good. And you know what? The most successful things that I ever offered were always on a either one-on-one capacity or a group coaching capacity or a mastermind capacity where I am personally engaging with people. Very few people wanted a course without me being present
Right.
in there doing some direct coaching. That was a sign.
Right.
So, anyway, takeaways.
Um, so in order to get more aligned with the Holy Spirit and not just my own wisdom, do God journaling for sure. Um, make that a regular practice because I know it's there. I do. And um, and that it's okay. I think too, I've been almost like, get out of my head, get out of my head. And I like that you told me that it's okay and it's important and that that's the headspace is good. It's still a good thing. Uh, and for sure, just move forward with trying the one-on-one and seeing how that flows. Because you're right about them. That's the magnetic thing I feel like I've been missing is like, I know I'm not like just being, if you see someone really excited about something, it makes you excited. You're drawn to it. And I haven't been able to do that yet. So try something different.
Good.
Because I think so this might be the answer is if I were excited, the difference between force and just you're growing and you're kind of uncomfortable because you're growing, um, because I'm not feeling that excitement about it, then the force. For me, maybe not for everybody, but when I'm just growing, but I know that I'm doing what I want to be doing, it might be uncomfortable or hard, but I'm still excited about it.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Exactly it. It's the knowing. There's an inner knowing. I know this is right for me, even though this is extremely uncomfortable and that this stretches me. But I know with every fiber of my being, this is what I'm meant to do, and I'm excited and I'm willing to push through it. The force is, I am not excited about this. There's nothing that makes me want to do this, but I'm going to because I have to push through my comfort zone.
Right.
That's forcing, and it's not going to be fruitful. Or it's going to be fruitful in a way that you do not want it to be fruitful.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Good. You answered your own question.
I knew you would do it with your little magic words. No.
So, yes, okay. It was a pleasure connecting with you, helping you get just aligned, get clear, give yourself permission to get what you really want, to acknowledge that deep down you know what it is that you want, you know something's off, you're following that. And then that you're leaning into and surrendering to letting things go, and you'll keep God journaling on what is it that I need to let go of, and keep leaning into the flow, the power of God flowing through you, where you shine and show up the most, and just let all the noise go.
Thank you.
And I look forward to witnessing how that unfolds.
Thank you. Me too.
Well, thank you for listening to my call with Melissa. I'm sure some of you could really relate to what Melissa struggled with, and even what I shared that I struggle with sometimes. And you could really see a lot of yourself in this situation from time to time. What I encouraged Melissa to do was to really like start asking herself, since she does live in this headspace, to ask herself questions like, is this true? Is what I'm feeling true? which we discovered that story of if I think through it enough, when I take action, I won't make mistakes. That was a big story that she really believed and agreed with. And once that was brought into the light, she realized that's not true at all. And it was much easier to let it go. But there was still a little bit of an attachment to that story because when I asked her, who would you be without this story? She envisioned being a very scattered person all over the map and um, feared like not being taken seriously. That's an indicator of still holding on to this, like not quite being ready to let go. And so you kind of keep digging deeper into, what makes this hard to release, what makes it hard to let go of. So you can get a vision of like, oh, I'll be free. I would be so much more purpose filled and passionate if I let this go. Or it was for her, it was like, I feel like I would be all over the place. I feel like I wouldn't be me and I would be like ungrounded. And so we continued doing more work. You saw the call and released like what the fear of that was. And the bottom line was she was afraid of being looked at as a joke if she really gave herself permission to pursue her passions, to truly embrace her passions and express fully what those passions were. Because she was suppressing that, she was in her head. Being in her head was suppressing that passion because she was trying so hard to control if people perceived her as a joke. So this is what happens a lot to a lot of us. We can have what is called competing intentions. We want to be passionate, purposeful people. We want to do what we enjoy. We want to thrive in this life. At the same time, we want to feel safe and secure and be liked by everybody, never rejected by anybody, and not looked at as a joke by people. Well, here are two things that it's just impossible to have both. So, what was winning out in this situation for Melissa was the not looking at as a joke, and what she wasn't getting was the full expression of her passions. So she was able to shift that and let that go and basically make that choice of, am I going to fully express my passions and accept that some people may look at me like a joke? Or am I not going to be okay with that ever and suppress my passions? So if you find yourself, again, and you'll hear me say this a lot with a lot of these colors and the competing intentions, write a list of those competing intentions. What do you want? And then decide what one you want to let go of. Who would you be without this? And how different would your life look like once you let this go? You can get good images, bad images, and not necessarily bad images, but images that help show you that there's still an attachment. So that is my coaching to you today. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a comment. What resonated with you the most? What did you like the most? What was your aha moment from this call? How did you um, how did you get help? What did you learn? What are you going to do moving forward from this call? What action are you going to start taking, or what are you going to be doing differently? Leave a comment, have dialogue, have conversations in the comments. I want an engaged group here and an engaged community. And thank you once again for tuning into Breaking Free and Owning Me. And I'll talk to you guys all next time.